Hi, this is Don Cusic with the Music Biz, and today my guest is Hazel Dickens, a singer and songwriter on Rounder Records. Hazel, you grew up in West Virginia, poor. What was it like? Did you come from a singing family, or what was the childhood like?
Yes, I did come from a singing family, but they didn't sing professionally. My father was a great singer, and he was a Primitive Baptist minister, and usually would lead the singing in the church. And that's was my beginnings, was the unaccompanied church singing.
Did you start singing back then?
Not really. I sang, but it was usually around the house or for friends or neighbors or with my brothers and sisters. And it was never any thought of doing it professionally until much later on, actually until I'd moved to the city. And we used to just get together for fun, and someone became interested in us and started encouraging us to continue with the music, and because we didn't hear a lot of it in the city when we moved to Baltimore. And that's the way it began, just playing small clubs.
Do you remember the first time you performed in public?
I think I do, yes. But I had gone along just to maybe sing a song or two. My brother was in the group, and somebody just sort of handed me a guitar and said, grab an A chord and hang on. And all of a sudden I was in this band.
Where was this?
Right out in the country from Baltimore. They had this country bar out there that played bluegrass and country western.
And this was right after you moved to Baltimore?
Maybe a year or two after I moved here.
Do you remember the first time you ever heard your voice on tape?
Yes, I didn't like it.
When was that?
Just when somebody had a tape recorder, taping it. But I usually don't like my voice on tape.
It's hard on playbacks, isn't it?
Yes. It's funny because I hear a lot of singers say that. In fact, just the day before yesterday, I heard a singer say that.
Did you, how did your first record come about?
Some people heard us singing at a party. I think that's the way it began. It said I was singing with my singing partner, Alice Gerard, at that time. And we were just at a party singing, and the same as a lot of other people. And these two guys who knew folkways and knew some of the people there had done some work for them said, you really should record. And we just sort of laughed at them, and said, we probably couldn't do the kind of songs we'd like to do. And they said, well, we'll talk to them. We'll see that you do get to do whatever you want to do. You'll do it your style and your way. And so that's the way we approached it, if we could do the kind of music we wanted to do.
How long ago was this?
It was about 1965.
And you followed up from there and did the first album for Folkways there?
We did two
of them.
And then the next one we did for Rounder. And so far I've done about 4 or 5.
Now, a lot of the people involved in folk music were actually, or are actually, middle class, upper middle class kids who came into the folk movement. You are more, shall we say, authentic. Did you ever resent that or feel they were stealing the thunder, or they have no business singing this kind of music?
No, as long as they do justice to it and bring some attention, because a lot of artists who don't have the aggressiveness to put themselves out there and know their way around college campuses or with people who have gone to school, they feel a little shy around people like, so they have opened doors for them. A lot of times I do, if they do not pay homage to or give credit to where they got the material, or sometime in some kind of way maybe try to help someone from my background.
So you feel they bring something to the music?
Yes, some of them do. I wouldn't say that for everyone, but some do because they have opened a lot of doors for us.
What are the advantages of being, I hate to use the word authentic, but have you had advantages there in your singing and your writing and your performing?
Yes, it really does help because a lot of people really admire that. Even some of your bigger stars, rock field or country folk, they always like and admire the authentic artist. And, well, most of them, that's where they go to get their material. So.
Folk is known for not wanting to be commercial or not caring if it's commercial or not. Do you, in your albums and your music, are you trying to be commercial? Are you trying to stay pure to your roots? You try to walk the line there or what?
No, if I had tried to be commercial, or I don't know what, it's commercial by the fact that you record it and you're selling your, but I'd never tried to go Nashville, that commercial.
Did you want to reach a lot of people?
I want to reach a lot of people, but not at the expense of the music. And I was never willing to water the music down, as they say, to make it more commercial in the sense that it would get airplay. A lot of music that gets airplay is highly commercial. It'll be maybe up to the point where it could be a crossover. And I was never willing to go that far.
What role does the record play in your career? Is it to help get bookings? Does it have a life of its own, or?
To help get bookings, to help get the music around. A lot of people, believe it or not, they really do play the music at home a lot more than I ever realized. And I mean, I get letters from people that say that I feel like I know you so well because I've had your records for years, and yet maybe they'd never met me.
But generally, a folk artist is not going to have the big record sales, so that's going to be a major income and a major life of its own, the record.
Yeah. No, it would never.
How about songwriting? You remember the first song you ever wrote?
Oh, the first song I ever wrote, I really never sang for anybody. I sang it for my maybe my brothers and sisters, but I didn't know that I could write, and it just sort of happened almost by accident, you know, because we were doing an album and needed some extra verses to a song that my singing partner and her friends had written, and they had written the chorus to this hymn. And I said, that wouldn't be any problem at all. I just think about what my father said from the pulpit. It was a hymn. And I sat down, in a few minutes I had written all the verses. And that was the beginning. And then the next thing I think that I wrote was a sort of like more political. It was like, Black Lung, talking about the plight of the miners, the Mannington mine disaster, and the Yablonsky murder.
What was the name of the first song you wrote? I mean the one with
I never sang very much.
No, the one you did the verses to the gospel song.
That was Gabriel's Call, and it was on a Folkways.
And how about the one that you were talking about with the Black Lung?
It was on a Rounder album. It was also on Our Hooli too, one with Strange Creek Singers, and but that I wrote about my oldest brother that died of black lung, and it actually was not very hard to write. It was just expressing feelings that were already there, and not trying to craft a song.
You talk about crafting a song. Do you work on your songs? Do you rewrite, or do you mainly rely on inspiration?
Mostly inspiration, and sometime I will have pieces of songs in my books for a long time. Just if something comes to me, I'll try to go write it down, and sometime it never becomes a song. And again, if you'll go back at a later time, you might get inspired all over again and finish it. But sometimes I can sit down and go straight through a song.
Do you a lot of times start with the idea or the title or the melody, or do you have a general way that it works?
Well, it works best for me if I can get a melody and an idea at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe not even knowing what the end of the song's going to be,
Mm-hmm.
but just it works best if I can get a real good melody in mind.
Do you want to make a point with each of your songs? Do you have an idea that you want to get across?
I like good message songs,
Uh-huh.
and I seem to, I have a lot more room, I think, for writing if I can find an idea, you know, like that,
Mm-hmm.
rather than just trying to make something happen, you know, like a love song that's going nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe you write about a real life situation, or something that I know that happened to someone that I was upset about. Or,
Do you write a lot from personal experience?
yes, and so I really have never, to tell you the truth, I've never really tried to go to any writing classes or anything to find out how to write. It would probably be helpful if I did.
Mm-hmm.
I usually just go by how I feel and what my experiences have been, or the experiences of friends.
Mm-hmm. You're a performer, you know, you've got to be entertaining. When you're writing, do you ever sense that conflict? Well, I'm trying to get this point across, but I've got to be
Yeah.
entertaining. Do you?
Sometimes, and I get hung up with that a lot, because I think that from, I guess, my way of writing and performing, if I get too hung up with that, then I'll become like, you know, all the other writers, and just be writing for the dollar instead of real life experiences. So I try not to get bogged down with that too much.
Mm-hmm. Do you work your songs out live on stage before you record them?
No.
Mm-hmm. You generally record them first?
Usually, I used to work them out first, but anymore what I've tried to do is maybe rehearse them with the band first and work them out before going to record them. But sometimes that doesn't happen either. It depends on if you get people like in Nashville Pickers, you probably will work it out in the studio.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't.
Your first stuff was recorded where?
Washington, D.C., I think, part of it, and the next one, New York.
And you recording these last couple albums in Nashville?
Yes.
I've heard it said about folk music that in folk music you sing with people, in other kinds of music you sing at people. Do you find that true with your own stuff?
No, I don't think, you know, I think any time that you're singing any good song, I mean, you don't sing at somebody, you sort of share it with them, you know, and it's sort of, if it becomes, if it's something that's part of their experience or they can identify with, I mean, that's what draws them in, you know. You should know, I know a lot of folk singers that do sing at people. I don't like that approach at all.
You talk about being out of the mainstream of music too. I hate to say it, the folk era, you know, the folk group, but out of the commercial mainstream. Is that frustrating sometimes, of trying to get more people to listen, more attention?
It can be if you think of it in terms of getting more popular, or if you think of it in terms of excelling in that kind of way. But if you have faith in the music and just want to bring the music to people that want to hear that type of music, because a lot of people thirst for it but can't get a chance to hear it. I mean, all they hear is top 40 and the package shows who sing top 40. So there's a lot of audience out there that that people who listen to top 40 really are not aware of.
How do you reach those people?
Well, most of the time they call me up. I don't do a lot of soliciting, and a lot of times that's the way I get jobs. But
Do you have a booking agent, or?
Not really. I have laid off to do it for all these years, but every time I get very close to doing that, I think about all the freedom I'm going to give up. And because they will book you on things that you don't want to do, because they have to make money. And as long as I can survive without it, I probably won't. But almost every time when I get really bogged down, you know, with a lot of things to do and a lot of bookings that are coming in, I always say that I'm going to get agency then.
And then you don't.
And then I don't. I
Do
get
you have
through.
brochures or calling cards or anything like that?
Oh, we have press kits that my record company sends out, and they also help too some. Yeah.
What kind of listener is the folk listener? Is the Hazel Dickens listener? Is there a certain kind of person that comes to the concert, or?
I have different kinds of audiences. I have about, I would say, 3 different kinds of audiences, and maybe more. Probably more. There's the traditional person. There's just the ordinary bluegrass or that type of person that would listen to any good song as long as it was done with bluegrass backing. I have the women's audience. And then there's the folk audience that have always embraced me, the more intellectual folk audience. And so in almost any of these audiences, a lot of the music that I do can overlap, because they will accept, you know, most any of it, because a lot of it is maybe Carter family-ish or unaccompanied, or it'll go from that to political, or to a women's song, or to a bluegrass song.
You know, we live in a rather affluent society. I think what is it, only 9% of the workforce actually makes anything, or traditional blue collar. Is there an appeal to the working song? Is the hard-hitting songs and hard-hit people?
Certainly. Yeah. Yes, definitely. I haven't met anybody really that does not like it. They would not like an overdose of it. If that's all you did on your concert, they wouldn't like that. Some people, the activists would, or the political people who are out there, you know, all the time on the picket line. Or so, but I usually do not do a full concert of songs like that.
Are women discriminated against in the music industry, or in the music that you do?
There's never been a large number of people in bluegrass, women I'm talking about. There never has been. I'm not sure exactly why, unless they are, as you say, discriminated against, or if they have always been, I think, taught to sing sweetly instead of gutsy. A lot of the bluegrass songs, you have to really, you know, belt them out. And so there's only a few women that I can think of, you know, that's really made it in bluegrass. And
of course, overall, there's a lot of women superstars.
That could do in country western.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And pop and rock.
And pop and rock. Yeah.
Can a performer really change anything with social issues, with social concerns?
If they're big enough, they can. Yeah. If you.
What do you mean by big enough?
Well, if you take any of your top stars, you can pick a name, and if they get something going that get behind an issue, they can sway a lot of people. I've never really actually tried to do that that way, you know. But well, we've all seen the power that some of the rock bands, you know, have been able to any issue that they've gotten behind, that they have.
How about a Hazel Dickens going out there with issues that are important to her? Coal mining, women's issues.
Yes, I've been able to get a pretty good audience like that with doing rallies and welfare rights or some women's issues, and we did a lot for some of the miners that were on strike, and see, the people like it a lot, because it's sort of like that they're getting some support at last, you know, or somebody's saying it for them, and it's really a great audience, to tell you the truth. It's probably one of my favorite audiences, is to sing to people that you feel like are really in tune with what you're saying, and that you can say something for them, and they can identify. Well, I mean, I was a worker for a long time in the factories and waitressed, and did a little bit of everything. And it's not just that I'm singing a song to get some recognition for them. That has been a real concern of mine, and will always be, is the plight of the worker.
Okay, you're talking about singing to people, singing to the converted, so to speak.
Yes.
How about, will music make a difference to those who don't care about those issues, or are against those issues, or apathetic?
It would if you didn't like give an overdose, you know, because a lot of people like those songs because there's a lot of music there. You know, it's not just, I'm not talking about doing songs that just rant on and on, and I'm talking about good message songs that happen to be a work song.
How often do you perform?
Sometimes more, sometimes less, and could perform as much as I wanted to.
You try to limit it to?
I try to limit it these days because I like to do other things. And I used to. I had no time to do anything else other than there was always dates waiting to be filled. And I find that if I don't do that, then I can do things like sing some on like the movie I just did, made one, or I can write some for soundtracks, or some little project that someone is working on and will ask me to write a song for it.
So what, 5 or 6 dates a month? Or?
That and more, maybe sometime.
Where do you mainly perform? Is it concerts? Is it clubs? Is it?
I don't try not to do clubs anymore. I will occasionally if it's a singing type listening room. Private concerts, you know, at colleges or halls or arts councils or whatever. Some tours.
How about your albums? What goes into making the album? How do you select the songs?
Usually by what I like, and that's most. If I don't like it, I won't do it. You know, and that's sort of like the criteria. Because if you get into, you know, to doing a song for a special reason, you know, because you think it should go on there, maybe because it'll be a money maker or something like that, you will fall into the trap. But if you do things because you honestly believe in it, you'll do songs that you really like and you like singing. Most usually there is someone else that will agree with you. But if you do things that you don't like, they're going to be able to tell that when you sing it.
Are there songs that you just do on record that you don't generally do in concert?
Sometimes, yeah, because sometimes if the musician is not familiar with it, a lot of times there are lots of things that you don't include, which is too bad, because if you had time to work out with them, if you have a band that travels with you all the time, then you work out a whole bunch of.
Do you mainly work by yourself and then with other musicians that are there?
I usually hire a band that I can go rehearse with. I do not like getting a pickup band at a festival or something like that.
That's always tough, isn't it?
It's tough, yeah.
Do you generally record more than what's on the album and then see what comes off best?
Sometimes 1 or 2 more, but you really should actually, because sometime when you get down to making up a sequence, you will sometimes change your mind about a song. You know, if you just do enough for the album, then sometimes you run into that conflict.
Is there a folk revival in this country?
I think so.
How can you tell?
Well, you listen to folk radio, you know, and you also look at the clubs, and you'll see a lot of folk people getting booked back in. There are places like that was booking a lot of bluegrass And then all of a sudden you will see a lot of folk acts or songwriters coming in.
A lot more festivals?
Yes, and festivals. And record sales too. If you know people in the record business, you can ask what's selling. And it's definitely on the up now. I don't know how long it will stay, but...
It was a loaded question, but can someone make a living as a folk singer now?
Yes, I think they can.
How? Just lots of concerts?
Lots of concerts, lots of clubs. And it would be hard, but I think they can. If you're good, you know, if you can't, you can't, you know, I think the 50s and 60s is gone, but I think the song has changed, you know. But
you ever get tired of performing and tired of traveling?
Yes.
You alluded to that before. The road life, weary of
That's
it.
why I pulled back, because I get tired of just being on the road.
How about, do you get tired of trying to make a difference? Of trying to get some points across that just don't seem to be taking?
Yes, until I go to the next concert where they see a lot of political people or a lot of supporters in the audience, and I'll say, well, this is why I do it, you know. Yeah, I think almost everybody does that's in the business that's trying to make a difference. Because I've talked to a lot of people, and you know, most of them quit years before they ever do. And they
the frustration factor is pretty high there.
Yeah.
How about your future plans? What do you have any ideas of what you want to do in the future? I know you've just done a part in a movie.
I just did some singing in the movie. I finished another album, and it will be out probably in a couple of months. And my next project is an old-time album, and with old-time musicians, primitive singing like unaccompanied, and maybe banjo, auto harp, and old-time fiddle.
You do a lot of Uncle Dave Macon type songs and that kind of stuff?
Whatever that I find that I like. I'm reaching back. I'm going to a lot of the archives now and collecting, and to some private collectors. And I have a lot of stuff to listen to when I get back that I haven't had a chance to get to. That's my next project.
When you get interviewed, are there times you walk away and say, I just wish somebody had asked me that? We never covered this.
Not really, no, because usually if the interviewer has done his homework, usually they ask, you know, enough questions. And nothing, if I want to elaborate, I can. And,
is there anything else that I should have asked you that I didn't?
No, I think you covered a lot.
Okay, well, thank you, Hazel.
Well, thank you for having me.
It's a real honor and a pleasure.
It was my pleasure.
That was Hazel Dickens on the Music Biz.